A2theK.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to All Out Fallout. Bum bum bum. What was that? What happened at the media scrum? It never gets old. It never gets old.
So topical.
You know, that's the kind of guys we are. But no, we're going to jump right into it because there was a hell of a lot of matches to discuss. Four of which took place at the 0 hour. It's not a buy-in anymore, is it? The 0 hour. So the first one.
0 hour, right? I prefer buy-in.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for double or nothing to have the buy-in. It's very casino themed. But
I don't know, but all in and all out are like gambling terms, aren't they?
This is true.
Aren't they? Aren't they?
I don't know. I'm all in on it being so. Yes. So the first one, before we go into it, I just want to give a shout out to Slam Wrestling because AEW, Tony Khan, if you're listening to this, make your media more accessible. How are you meant to get pictures of what happened if you don't post them anywhere? Do you get me?
Fair point.
How are you meant to go, well, here's a screenshot or a capture of the match we're talking about? Because they don't fucking exist. So,
in fact,
do your damn job.
While we're talking about it, make your wrestlers more accessible as well.
Yeah. Stop blocking us, you know.
And do you know what? Make your shows more accessible. Get your ass over to England.
I know, you've been going on about it for ages. Do it, will you? Anyway.
How do you know?
Probably. So the first one to talk about is Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello taking on Ortiz and Ruby Soho.
So I've noticed this a few times when we were talking to a certain person earlier who will be released later on in the week.
It's getting released.
Is she going by Mello now?
Yeah, so obviously Conti was her former husband's name, so now that obviously she's married to Sammy, she's going by Mello. Don't know why she's not going by Guevara, but hey ho. Ty Guevara doesn't really sound the best, so yeah. But yeah, this match was okay. It was a nice little throwback to the golf cart spot with Sammy to kick things off, to be fair, so I enjoyed that. But yeah, it was, I don't know, they didn't come out dressed to wrestle or anything like that, so it kind of felt a bit thrown together. But
yeah, it's kind of a goofball match, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, you know. Well, Sammy and Ty are the intergender champs from some promotion somewhere, so I think it was pretty clear they were going to...
That's what those belts were.
Yeah, they're going to pick up the win, and they did. So, nothing too surprising. Heels get the win in the opening contest. We then moved on to Hook taking on Angelo Parker, which was a random thing, to be fair. It was for the...
I mean, do you give a Hook?
It was for the FTW belt, and it basically, we got Action Bronson was involved, who obviously records Hook's entrance theme. So he was there. Not that Hook needed him or anything like that, but he came in at the end to celebrate with him. So that's that was kind of nice. But I don't think anyone thought Hook was going to lose, especially on a pre-show.
Again, massively the wrong choice to have him lose, wasn't it?
Angelo Parker. The next match was quite short, to be fair. I thought they'd give him more time, but it was Pac taking on the returning Kip Sabian for the All Atlantic Championship.
I'm a little gutted they didn't give it more time. I want to put some respect on that championship for starters, but obviously we have a bit of an affinity for both of these guys being local lads, so you want a bit more time served here. But
stuff like that, like the fact that two Brits are fighting for the belt in the first place is awesome. But yeah, Kip didn't get much time, and obviously it was a pretty convincing win for Pac as well. So considering he's been gone for so long, for him to come back and basically just lose straight away didn't.
I mean, in a sense, I'm not too bothered by that because it's like, well, we haven't started building him yet, so he can suffer a loss, and it won't really affect it.
I mean, he came straight.
He was
back
in the middle of a tear,
match,
and then
doesn't need to win them all, does he? At the end of the day,
I'm team Pac, if I'm honest.
Yeah, me too.
I want to be part of Death Triangle.
Me too, man. Me too. Which we'll talk a little bit about them later because there's some changes to some of the outcomes of these matches, which we'll get onto. And the final match on 0 Hour was Eddie Kingston taking on Tomohiro Ishii, and it was as you expected, to be fair. It was a lot of chops, a lot of stiff kicks, and not a lot else really. Again, some people love these kind of matches. I'm not going to compare it to Sheamus versus Gunther because
not enough chops,
to be fair, and the Sheamus Gunther match was significantly better. But I think Dave loved this match and stuff as well. So it's one of those. There's definitely a market there for it. It was fine. It was okay. But the problem, the thing I've got, and I know it was a rematch between them and Ishii won it and stuff, and the commentary team mentioned it in passing, but it was never built, and it was just like, here's a throwaway match. And when they do that, especially with guys who I don't really care about, no offense to Ishii, but
it's hard to get that investment, isn't it, when they haven't really been built enough for us to care about.
Exactly.
Like, this is the trouble with some of these, and I'm not saying like there are fans who probably got a lot more out of this, but like Tony tends to do this a fair bit, where he rely on like you watching other promotions and indie promotions to go, oh, I know who that guy is. So doesn't need to be any build. He's brought someone in. So I know who that guy is.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk about that. Talk about that later as well. We'll talk about Death Triangle, because I realised a very interesting point around how much Tony relies on you watching, stuff online or elsewhere in order to learn valuable information. So we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, this match was fine. Kingston got the win, makes it 1-1. So yeah, fans were happy. That's what
the fans were happy.
So let's talk about the very first match of the night. It was the Casino Ladder match, and I'm keen to get your thoughts on this. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I did.
Some people hated
I'm
this.
also very smug that it kind of panned out how I want to say it panned out how I predicted.
To be fair,
not true. But.
No, to be fair, you pretty much called this whole thing absolutely right. So credit where it is due. I don't even think I'd considered him rocking up in this match, to be fair, which, there you go. Silly of me. But yeah, you called the whole thing, man. But
the only thing I will say, and I'm curious to know, because you're usually good at these things, how confident were you that was MJF?
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I knew, obviously, that it wasn't him who was climbing the ladder and stuff like that. I was like, well, obviously, that's definitely not MJF. But then, obviously, as soon as... Like, the thing I didn't get as well, right, which I guess they tried to explain it, was, for me, Stokely Hathaway won that match. He climbed with the ladder and he got the chip. And they were like, oh, no, only one of the participants of the match can... So it's like, well, what? So... I don't know, it kind of invalidated it for me. I feel like whoever takes that down should win. But either way, if you can overlook that, I think as soon as... I don't know, it was just so... It was so unexpected, wasn't it? Because obviously you find out it's like Stokely and his, his little faction, then there's this weird music starts playing, and it's like, Return of the Devil, or whatever it's called. I should know
that mask's fucking horrible, though.
Yeah.
I don't even mean in like that's horrible, it's scary. I mean like it's just fucking awful. I don't like that mask at all.
No. But it's one of them. As soon as he started coming down, you could just tell. The fact he had gloves on, so you couldn't see his fake tanned hands that he's so
they put too much effort into you not being able to identify him in any way that you realise who it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's in part of me wonders whether they should have done something even longer, like we didn't find out who it was, because I like the way, I mean, he did do little stuff, didn't he, like the little wiping his feet before he got in stuff. It was very MJF, the little spin that he did, so it was easy to tell. It would have been maybe even better if they just didn't reveal who it was. He came down, not doing any of his mannerisms, came in, took it, teased taking the mask off, and just walked off, and we never heard from him again the whole night. Would have been pretty cool, because then that would have been like, well, who was that guy who for much longer. But I did like what they did, but we will touch on that.
We will get to it, but I really enjoyed the way they executed the end as well, though.
Oh god, yeah, that was really good. So the next match, we crowned new trios champions, Anthony. Now, when we spoke last,
long may they reign.
Last we spoke about this, we were very confident that it was going to be Best Friends or another team that was going to end up facing the the Elite. I don't think either of us saw Hangman stepping in and working with the Dark Order. So fair play. That one was a bit of a swerve, and I like all the kind of history between these teams in this match, like with Hangman kind of stopping the rest of the Dark Order from hurting Kenny Omega even more and things like that. So there's a lot of nice touches here, and ultimately it was pretty much a no-brainer that the Elites were going to be the ones to win it, because that's basically why they didn't debut the trio titles until Kenny was back.
Yep.
So,
which holding them out for that long really helped. Looking at where we are now,
it was a worthwhile decision, I would say. But again,
definitely worth holding them out for Kenny.
We'll come on to that. So the next one to talk about, really short match. This, I was surprised how short it was. Jade Cargill versus Athena.
I didn't even see it.
I mean,
how
Athena,
short it was. Didn't know what happened.
Athena got some offense in, but Jade basically was too much for her. Was the story. So, considering what a veteran Athena is, I expected them to lean into this a little bit more.
And to be fair, and this is further pushes into this whole belief that Tony's not giving the women's division long enough. This kind of really did that.
Well,
I'm very much on Team Jade here, but
this would have been the shortest match of the night if it wasn't for a match we'll talk about in a sec. But it was basically the second shortest match. It was over in about 3 minutes. So
that's what she said.
Whee, new record, personal best. The next one to talk about, I love this. The match itself was fine. Don't get me wrong, but I loved the ending to it. We got Wardlow team with FTR to take on Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. The Motor City Machine Guns. And again, no surprises here. Wardlow and FTR pick up the win. But I love the fact that Dacta's daughter came down at the end wearing a Fight Like an 8-year-old Girl t-shirt.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, obviously, as dads, we got a soft spot for that kind of thing. So
gets your heartstrings, doesn't it?
It does. So I was made up to see that, and obviously, it sounds like Dax has had a hell of a time over the last couple of kind of years and stuff like that. So a really nice moment for him as well as his daughter, which is cool.
Definitely.
Oh, the next one. You called this one right again. So it was Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs, and was effectively a squash. Powerhouse absolutely kicked his ass. Now, my thought process on this whole thing was Ricky Starks' promo talking about he's had his time and all this, and he hasn't. Now's his time. As we remember from last week, that's a callback. But yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs just kicked his ass. So
yeah, because it's Powerhouse's Hobbs' time.
Powerhouse's Hobbs' time. Yeah,
that's
it's not absolute Starks, absolute squash as well. It was, but yeah, I don't know what this means now. To be fair, I'd love to see
actually squashed.
I'd love to see a heel Powerhouse Hobbs versus a Wardlow. To be fair,
yeah.
I'm also interested to see W. Morrissey taking on Wardlow as well. Two massive guys.
Just want to see big men fighting big men.
Basically, big men slapping meat. It's my kind of thing, That's what I'm into. Don't judge.
I love how you just putting big things up against Wardlow. I just want to see that. I want to see Wardlow fight a truck.
I mean, Braun Strowman can do it.
Full Street Fighter style.
Indeed. Do you know what we didn't? I feel bad we didn't even. Did we mention Braun Strowman? Was he in the news? I can't remember.
Yes.
Was he? Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say I feel bad we didn't mention him, but we did. Fair play. The next one to talk about, I was fuming at this. Right, this is, if there's ever a time to call an audible, Tony, this was it, because the fans fucking love the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. Says me. Yeah, I popped so hard for the Acclaimed in this match. It was probably might be the best match of the night. I'm not gonna lie, and I don't mean that just because it's the Acclaimed and I'm a big fucking mark for the Acclaimed. It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I love
He really needs to recognise how over and how good the Acclaimed are. He really does.
I will make a bold prediction now. They're going to win the belt at Grand Slam. Because he saw that night. You've seen the Sesame Daddy Ass as the number one selling tee on Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm sure we're second. But there's the whole thing about the foam fingers and stuff like that. The micro brawlers. Basically everybody loves the Acclaimed, is what I'm saying. So they deserve the belt, but they should have done it.
He's not a very good rapper, but they're a good team.
The fans were proper into it, man. So again, it's the time when they should have gone, do you know what, we need to yeah, we need to change the outcome of this. But they just stuck with it, and the fans were. It sucked all the fucking the
enthusiasm.
The enthusiasm out of the arena when they lost. And to see Swerve and Keith Lee get booed so bad. I like what they've done is to kind of continue that on Dynamite now. So obviously the most anticipated Max Caster rap ever after that media scrum, and Swerve comes out and interrupts him. Like, oh, okay. So yeah, they're doing a good job.
See, that's where I go back to giving a little bit of credit of reading a room and course correcting as they need. So like like you say, they're leaning into that. Good. But there's a lot of not good stuff Tony's done lately.
This is true. But yeah, I thought that was handled quite well. But yeah, the Acclaimed absolutely have to win at that Grand Slam thing, whatever it's called. So
Grand Slam.
Yes. The next one. Were you surprised by this? So it was Toni Storm taking on Britt Baker, taking on Jamie Hayter, taking on Hikaru Shida.
Yes and no. I feel like they went with a really safe option here. I said when we were doing the predictions that Jamie Hayter could be a dark horse here. Like she seems probably one of the least likely in terms of established wrestlers. But then that might be a good reason too, because she's popular. She's definitely got the skill. Could be a good time to do it. I'm glad out of the choices they went with Toni, but it just seemed like a really safe choice.
Yeah, I think that's my kind of thing as well. Like, she's a deserving champion, don't get me wrong, but it did feel safe. I would have liked them to have maybe given Jamie Hayter a chance or done something a bit different, but they kind of went from babyface champ to babyface champ.
I am happy, and this is no disrespect to her, I am happy it didn't go back to Britt. But for the same reason, I think that would have been an even safer option for them, and I feel like that would have been...
I don't know if it would, to be fair, because I think it would have pissed off a lot of fans, but I think... I don't know.
I'd prefer Britt to go after the TBS title now.
Maybe that's what the way they'll go with it. To be fair, I think fans would be fuming if she's the one to beat Jade as well. But I don't know. We haven't seen enough of Britt now that she's not in the title scene, and I think that Britt was always really good television.
Agreed. Hell of a dentist too.
Hell of a dentist. But it's like I was thinking when obviously it was Rebel's birthday the other day. We sent a happy birthday thing to Rebel. But I was thinking back to the some of the segments. I know some of it was in the pandemic era, but when they had like the little talk show and stuff together, and they had like the fucking dentist's room match and stuff like that. They had some crazy shit that they did, them two. And then all the stuff when she got injured with Role Model and all that. And we just don't really see Britt anymore. And I feel like, based on what happened after the media scrum,
she's certainly gone on the back burner, like to essentially make herself one of the pillars.
Well,
and now you don't see a lot of it. It's crazy, really.
Exactly. I feel like maybe they need to go in a bit of a new direction, which is giving more spotlight to the original pillars. But we'll see, and we'll talk
instead of the pillocks.
Instead of the pillocks. Oh, sorry. That's a shirt, isn't it? The four pillocks.
I don't know if we get away with that.
Okay, that's got to be done. We're gonna have to make that. Even if it's just as a meme, we've got to do that. So the next one to talk about, Anthony, was the shortest match of the night, and it didn't make any fucking sense. And I said this jokingly when we gave our predictions. I was like, so obviously I'm talking about Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage. And I was like, well, yeah, unless Luchasaurus turns on him again. And you were like, fuck, no, they won't just... And I was like, yeah, they won't do that anyway. Jungle Boy comes out. Where's my friend Luchasaurus? Oh, there he is. Chokes on. And, yeah. Meanwhile, Christian Cage is in a full-on fucking arm cast in the ring. And, yeah, Luchasaurus basically then puts him through a table or something as well, I think. Puts him in the ring. Jungle was like, I can still go. And then just gets beaten in like 6 seconds.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but, this is factually accurate. Because dinosaurs are known to be very indecisive. It's a little known fact about dinosaurs, but they really changed their mind quite a lot. So I understand where they're coming from with this one.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the big news coming out of this, though, is it seems Christian Cage is injured and it will be out of action for quite a long time as well. So maybe this was them calling an audible of, we've built this all up and now we can't have the match, so we just need to have, further the story between Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, maybe. So, yeah, I didn't love it, but you can potentially see why they did what they did.
Yeah, it was stupid.
The next match, again, shock ending, in my opinion. Keen to get your thoughts on it, but fantastic match. It was Bryan Danielson taking on Chris Jericho. The Lionheart versus the American Dragon.
I mean, I can't remember who predicted at the time. I was never sure who was going to come out of this one, to be honest.
I was dead set it'd be Danielson. Dead set. Because the stuff that happened in the, Jericho basically did him in, didn't he? Took him out of action, and they've had this whole redemption arc with Danielson where he's not being able to finish matches and is he coming back too soon and all this stuff. That was all because of Jericho. So I was like, oh, okay, Danielson will win and get his win.
Yeah, I suppose in that sense. But, I don't think... I hate to say it, because I hate when they keep repeating things, but are we done with Jericho Danielson?
Well...
Still time for another match.
I mean, actually, to be fair, based on what got revealed on Dynamite this week, I think they're scheduled to face each other next week, possibly.
Number 2,
for a certain reason. So, yeah, you are right.
For certain reason.
To be fair, the match was really, really good, and it's easy to have a great match.
These two were always going to perform, weren't they? They were always going to perform. I was really torn. Like, it's both considered some of the greatest in the world, and you could have given it to either of them. So I can't even remember who I predicted, to be honest, Carl. I'm sure you know. I'm sure when you were putting the 0 on the score sheet for me, I'm sure you know.
You did quite well, to be fair, and across everything.
Yeah, I managed to call a couple of things this time, which is nice. But yeah, I was really torn on what to go with, and I'm honestly not upset, really. There wasn't a decision in this one where I'd have been like, what the fuck are they doing that for? I'm perfectly fine with it. But yeah, all round, it was a good match.
Yeah, that's what they should have called it. Not all out, all round.
All
round. Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people
don't want to upset Eddie Kingston.
Praising Jericho and his latest run, saying it's some of the best work he's ever done. I'm not too sure about that, but he's definitely.
He's the comeback kid, man. People dog him for ages, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm still awesome."
Well, it's one of them. He definitely did go through a little bit of a phase in year 2 with AEW, didn't he? Where he seemed a little bit more sluggish and stuff like that. And he's definitely massively improved. This is more like year 1 Jericho, for sure. And I like the way that he's continuing to maybe not even just reinvent himself, but he's utilising stuff. He's being the Painmaker. He's being Lionheart. He's being loads of other stuff in AEW now as well. So he is constantly,
You know what? I think it's funny, because. When we were talking to a certain person earlier who we're probably going to release later on this week, he mentioned Chris Jericho, and he mentioned Jericho historically saying when he was in WCW about any amount of TV time, and he'll use it and he'll make the most of it. And it just shows you, this is a guy who grew up watching wrestling, loving wrestling, and even as far back as then you can go, yeah, Jericho has always tried to make the most of. Hats off to him in terms of the recreation of himself, the creativity of himself. He's always been top notch at that kind of thing, hasn't he?
Fairness. Oh, yeah, 1,000,000%. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the match. It was, it delivered versus what it was advertised, in my opinion. But yeah, it was a shock ending, at least in my, from my point of view.
Shocker.
The next match we had was the penultimate match of the evening. It was Miro teaming up with Sting and Darby Allin to take on House of Black, and the babyfaces got the win. Miro, Sting, Darby Allin defeating House of Black. Now, knowing what we know about Malachi taking an extended leave of absence from AEW, the results probably make sense. But it was one of those matches, it kind of seemed a bit odd on paper of why it got put together. I don't think there was a massive amount of build in this one. It was just randomly one week, House of Black were like, hey Miro, do you want to join us? And he was like, no. And then next minute, he's with Sting and Darby, and it's like, well,
as you do.
I think you just join House of Black then if you're going to align with people. But, that aside, standard match. It was a nice little kind of palate cleanser after the technical masterclass of Danielson and Jericho, and before the main event that everybody, was kind of waiting for, essentially. So it certainly wasn't a bathroom break, but it was one to kind of just bring the, get people down, concentrate ahead of building them back up again for that main event. And the main event, Anthony, was, of course, CM Punk, Jon Moxley. We saw this match a week and a half earlier.
As long as you kept your eyes open long enough, you saw the match.
Yeah, and it was a curious decision, which we've said to
Still
give
curious.
away. I mean, the whole let's be honest.
Really fucking weird.
Let's be honest. The whole thing was batshit crazy, wasn't it? If this was always going to be your main event for All Out, you don't give it away for free TV like a week and a half earlier, and have
even if you do,
the person who's going to go ahead.
Match worth watching.
Well, yeah, but you don't have the person who's going to go ahead and win that match lose in 3. What even was it? 3 minutes?
Less than 3 minutes, I believe.
So, yeah, bizarre booking decisions, and Toni said in the pre All Out, not the post Scrum, the pre All Out Scrum, that he thought it was really good, and more people were then anticipating to see the match, and it was a different way to get them to the. It was definitely different, Toni, because
it was different, but I think you're confusing different and shit.
Yeah, it was a bizarre decision, especially when they were. Let's get into the whole thing, shall we? So, because what a clusterfuck this is. We had Punk get injured after becoming the champ, so they've given the crown a new interim champion in Jon Moxley. They have the match to kind of unify the titles. Moxley kicks Punk's ass in 3 minutes, only to then have a rematch a week and a half later and lose that match clean. He hasn't lost a match in AEW, I don't think, in like a year at least. So it was like a big loss for Moxley when you take that into account. And then only for Punk to have injured himself again in that match and now be suspended as well.
Before we go into full detail on that side, I will give credit not so much to the match. The match was decent and confusing, as you say, why it was such a decisive win on Dynamite. But it was a decent match. Punk wins. Happy days. Absolutely loved the MJF stuff at the end.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to give credit to that. Had we have not have had all this controversy, that's what people will be talking about right now.
Yeah, it was
brilliantly.
It was really well done, wasn't it? To be fair, the fact that obviously, the lights go out and then it's like I think even you said, didn't you? Like, to be fair, mad props to you because you called a lot of this. You said there needs to be a reason to explain why MJF would be inserted into that makes sense and stuff like that. So for them to do it via a leaked voicemail that basically says, come back, it's for the fans, I'll give you loads of money and I'll put you in the ladder match. It's like, that's a compelling enough reason for MJF to come back. So it all kind of made sense in a non-convoluted way.
Even the slow, I love when you get stuff like this with the audience reaction. Like, the more you're learning, the more you're confident who it is. But then the slow reveal when he puts the scarf on and you're like, it fucking is. It is. Yeah. I fucking loved everything.
And how
it worked brilliantly.
How mental that the single most booed man in Chicago, like a year ago or whenever, was fucking cheered, so loud in that building more than Punk. Everyone was absolutely beside themselves to see him back. I'm
curious about something here. I don't know how you feel about this. It seems that Punk might be a bit of a petty douche, right? Seems it. And he walked into that post-media scrum, and we'll get into that in a sec, with such a face on that you think it was actually because of MJF getting a much bigger reaction from his hometown than he did.
I mean, who knows?
To my mind, you would expect it because he's been absent and the crowd love that kind of return. But something pissed him the fuck off before he went into that post-media scrum.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, this, because I don't feel like CM Punk hates MJF the way he hates a lot of other people.
He vented about a lot of stuff. He didn't actually attack MJF at all.
Well, he did a bit, but not in the same way. Because basically someone asked him, like, what do you think about MJF coming back? And he's like, I hate having to work with these little pricks who, know nothing about the business and all this kind of stuff. So he did bury him a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know whether the fact that the fans cheered more for MJF was a factor, or I honestly think he knew he'd fucked himself up in that match and injured himself and knew straight away, well, for fuck's sake, I'm going to be out injured again. and it was more of a reaction to that, to be honest. I think you can say as many negative things about Punk, and a lot of them are probably true. I think he probably felt like he let Toni and the company down because they went through all this rigmarole to then give him the belt again, and he knew he was fucked, and you know, it was a waste.
That is a tough thing to deal with, and if that's why he's sort of gone in with the attitude he has, then so be it. But like, he needs to wear his big boy pants and not like burn the entire fucking locker room down with him.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
He needs to get the fuck over it and stop ranting at people.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not condoning anything that.
Oh no, I know what you're saying, but like, I'd love there to be a reason because he clearly was annoyed going in.
He was raging, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Like, I know he's had some interactions with Hangman and stuff like that, but not to the point that he needed to have this big fucking rant. You know what I mean? Like, Hangman wasn't even interacting with him. He wasn't there. By all accounts, he wasn't even there for the post-match for all. But it was just so. I want to say out of character, but the more you hear it about, the more you like. A lot of people saying like, "Oh yeah, he is hard to work with, and he can be a bit of a dick." You're like, maybe it's not out of character. I don't know.
Yeah, I just realised I had a lovely image of MJF's return that I didn't put on when we were talking about it, so I just wanted to see his beautiful little face.
Yeah. And you know what upsets me the most?
Go on.
Ryback feels vindicated now. I know it's slightly unrelated, but when Ryback's now on the internet going, I told you what Punk was like, it's like, shut up, Ryback.
The events that transpired were so bad that even fucking Ryback now feels vindicated.
Yeah. Punk, if you do listen to this, which I hope you do, I want you to think about that consequence, right? Never mind all the other shit, right? Ryback now thinks he's right because of you.
Look what you did, you little jerk. Yeah, shocking. Absolutely crazy, everything that transpired. But yeah, obviously we're not doing it This Week in Wrestling this week. So essentially, yeah, there was if you've read, you watch the news or you listen to it, there was a post-media scrum fight backstage with CM Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, all getting involved amongst others. And essentially, as a result of that, on Dynamite this week, Tony Khan, stripped both CM Punk and Young Bucks and Kenny Omega of both the world title and the trios titles. Now, Punk, we know, is going to be away for 6 to 8 months at least. With his injury, we don't know. Nothing's been confirmed in terms of his, suspension status or anything like that.
Him and the Elite are all suspended indefinitely at the moment. There hasn't been a return date for it.
Well, I mean, pending the investigation, there was people saying that it could go as far as him being released from the company. Now, I can't see it. I think Tony loves him. He's a massive mark for CM Punk. He went to all the shows.
There's balances, yeah. Like, if we're getting to a point, like, and I know a lot of it's rumor mill stuff, we're getting to the point that the Bucks and Omega are, like, saying, we're going to fucking leave. It's a balance for Tony, isn't it, to go, well, do you keep Punk or do you keep Kenny and the Bucks? And by all accounts, in terms of, like, people who are liked in the locker room, I think people like Kenny and the Bucks a lot more than they like Punk.
Yeah, potentially. I suppose it's not always about who's liked more as well, though, is it?
In a sense of like when you're running a company and you've got to try and keep harmony in the locker room, it kind of is, I know it shouldn't be a popularity contest, but if it's going to piss a lot of people off, him getting rid of those three over Punk, essentially getting rid of them because they leave, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's how it would go, but if the risk is that they walk and then a lot of people get pissed off, difficult, isn't it? Because look at the domino effect. If they walk, then you've got the potential for Adam Cole to want to walk. You've got the potential for Hangman to want to walk. You've got the potential for the Dark Order to want to join Hangman. Like, there's so many knock-ons, like people who support the Bucks and support Kenny. And I don't know how far it goes. This is all purely speculation. But you go, well, it's a difficult. Like, if he's looking at trying to keep everyone there, he really needs to try and mend some fences.
Oh, he does, yeah, definitely. I think Tony would prefer not to lose anybody, but it's obviously how do you...
He might take them all on a retreat. He's got the money. He's got a lot of fucking money, as he likes to point out. He might take them all on a retreat, and they can all, like, meditate and get all zen and, become harmonious with one another,
But, yeah, so...
Call it the All Elite Retreat.
All Elite Retreats, I love that.
I feel like I planned that, I didn't.
So yeah, obviously we're going to see what happens. So we know that Death Triangle are now the new Trios champions, and rightfully so. Deserved it from the beginning, to be fair.
Absolutely
good
choice. I do think, I joked about it before, but it is an absolute shame that they held out so long because they wanted Kenny and the Bucks to be like the first trios, and it lasted all of 5 seconds. That's shit. But Death Triangle are the absolute fucking best choice right now to hold them belts.
Definitely. And obviously there's a tournament bracket announced for the world title, and it's interesting where you go with this because you put it back on Moxley again, who probably, deserves it, I guess.
What I'd ask you about that is the tournament includes Guevara and Darby Allin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think either of them are realistic candidates, or do you think they're just there to fill the roster?
I think they're there just to fill the roster. I think they deserve to be there. It's an interesting one because
without a doubt, but do you expect them to win at this point?
Well, they've built it as based on the Tournament of Champions. Now, what I find curious is why is Bryan Danielson in there? Because he's never won a belt in AEW, and they haven't called back to other people who've won belts outside of AEW and put them in the tournament.
Well, you see, then you could put anyone in that tournament, really, couldn't you?
For me, I'm
ironically, they didn't put Claudio in there, and he is currently a champion.
Yeah. I actually think that could be the reason. I think maybe Danielson's going to win this. Because if you give it back to Moxley after all this, it's kind of like, fuck's sake, again.
I actually kind of want Danielson to win this. I think in terms of someone to work with MJF, I think that'd be fucking good as well.
That's it. You've got to wonder when that match is going to happen. At the end of the day, you can cash that in whenever you want. So it's kind of like a Money in the Bank, innit? So maybe.
But imagine, right? Danielson wins it. We already know MJF's great on the mic. Imagine Danielson wins it, and we get to see just how great MJF can be in the ring. Because that's what they will bring to it between them.
Yeah.
I really want that.
Well, the challenge is with it as well is MJF's kind of getting the face treatment now as well, whether he wants to or not. And his promo was really good this week, coming up just being such an insincere prick, just like, I love this sports team and this guy on the back of my and all this kind of stuff. To then, as soon as Moxley comes out, like they already started to plant the seed for Moxley, which is interesting. So I honestly don't know how they're going to go, but I think we're going to see Moxley, Danielson in the finals, 2 Blackpool Combat Club members, William Regal being all conflicted, and I think it could go either way, but I'd like to see it on Danielson.
I agree.
Assuming he is also not working injured and can actually hold the belt down, because that's the last thing you want is they finally crown another one, and then he gets injured in the match. So that would just be
becomes a cursed belt that no fucker wins.
Yeah, the worst of all scenarios, let's be honest. So we will see, but yeah, what a massive shame that
I'm right in saying Jericho's in the tournament. We haven't really given any passing attention to him. Could we see a 2-time champ out of Jericho?
We could do, to be fair. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I think everyone's saying he's doing some of the better stuff in his career that he's done for a long time. So maybe.
Why'd you go? I wouldn't even mind seeing a Jericho MJF again, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah. How did the end? I'm trying to think how they ended the last one. It was all getting convoluted with the Pinnacle and JS. Oh no, it wasn't even JS.
Did they end it with that cage match?
I can't remember. Did they do Blood and Guts? Yeah, I think they did. I can't remember. Yeah. But yeah, there's loads of different directions. I think the people who are in the tournament all belong in there. I don't think I'd be fuming with any of them as champs, but I do think it'd probably be... I think Jericho's a good shout. Probably shouldn't exclude him, but I think it'll be one of Jericho, Moxley or Danielson, which ironically are the 3 people who are the senior figures backstage running these talent meetings and stuff off the back of what's happened. So, they're going to be
this
one of the...
This could be the start of a better era in AEW, though. I think they're the right 3. I really do.
Yeah. I genuinely think they lost the way a bit in pushing the guys who got them to the dance. You know what I mean? And Sammy Guevara is an interesting one because people just really despise him now and don't really want to see him wrestle, which is a whole different, subject. But there were times when...
Getting that X-Pac heat, isn't
he? Yeah, there were times when Guevara and Darby and people like that were just featured prominently all the time, and it felt different and it was new and exciting. And now it is just kind of like, well... we need to find space for all these WWE guys. So
the irony is, and I never thought I'd say this, because my favorite Cody. Times like this that they need Cody. When you're getting this kind of turmoil, you need the annoyingly optimistic Cody who loves the.
I wish they had year 1 Cody, year 2 and year 3 Cody. And AEW was awful, unfortunately. Year 1 Cody was one of my favourite wrestlers. on the planet at that time. His promo was fantastic. His storylines are fantastic. Stuff he was doing with his brother, stuff he was doing with MJF. It was phenomenal. Stuff with Jericho. Loved all of it. And then he just kind of really lost his way and started doing random. I love the TNT title stuff he was doing.
Lost his way so much he ended up in WWE.
Exactly. It's fucking.
I ended up here.
Yeah, that's a hell of a road, that, isn't it? But yeah, it's interesting. I can't wait to see what they actually do with it. But I do feel optimistic. We're going to start to see maybe a bit more of a return to form and return to roots when you haven't got to, placate the likes of a Punk and the Elite and, just give them what they want. But we'll see. So yeah, that was the All Out Fallout. Ended up coming in around 40 minutes there. We were like, we'll probably try and smash this in 30, but we like to talk.
We don't smash nothing.
Another... apologies we were late this week. Normally we record on a Wednesday and it's out on a Thursday. Well, life happens though. But obviously we'll hopefully have this out Saturday for your viewing and listening pleasure. And hopefully...
Not just this, hopefully we'll have it all out.
Oh. Well, put it away. But yeah, so we'll have we've got our 3 segments this week. So if you haven't seen them, we've got Clash at the Castle. We've obviously got this one you're listening to now. And we've got the news, and then we've also got an interview, which hopefully will get out in the next day or two as well, fingers crossed.
Exciting stuff.
Some editing to do on
always exciting stuff.
Wi-Fi let us down a little bit. And maybe some surprises coming next week. Maybe you've noticed some slight
reason that Carl's sat in front of a random green wall.
Changes in the... Maybe in some of our other videos, maybe the picture quality was clearer. Maybe, see more wide-angled with a green screen. What could possibly happen?
Angled.
Well. So, keep your eyes peeled next week as well because, we may look a little bit different next week. So, until then, we'll leave you with the one and only legend Griff Garrison to say goodbye this week.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A2theK.
A2theK. A2theK.
A2theK.